pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any citizen input this morning? I don't have any blue forms filled out. Are there being any? Sure. Okay. So we will dispense with that. We do have a consent agenda, and I would like to pull item number 4.
Let's see. And then I'm interested in a little discussion about, number 1, the vigilant contract.
Okay.
Commissioner, I just wanted to acknowledge there was a minor scrivener's error submitted in baskets for item number 7 related to the solid waste fee waivers. It was just a heading that had the wrong date, so you have a new one in your box.
I have that.
Yeah, I got that from yesterday also.
Okay.
So I do support that. It's fee waivers for organizations that are, I don't know if you want to hear from solid waste on that, or you
No.
don't need to pull it? Okay, that's fine.
It looked fair.
Good.
So
So yeah, number 1 and 4, with that, I'd move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, I'll second it.
Yes.
Yes. In favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so may we, I know Tricia needs to head out, but I would like to call up item number 4 first. For James, do you want to make that presentation?
Good morning, Commissioners. James Lewis, Property Manager for Deschutes County. With me here today is Patricia Bowling from Humane Society of Brightside Animal Shelter. And what we're here for today, what's before you, is a bargain and sale deed that conveys ownership of the parcel where the animal shelter is functioning in Redmond back to the Humane Society of Redmond as the formal entity, otherwise known as Brightside Animal Shelter. Brief history on this goes back to 2001 when Deschutes County originally conveyed the property to the Humane Society of Redmond and did so for the purpose of providing animal control shelter services for the county. The county is obligated under state law to do animal control and as well as local code. And so rather than having our own animal control department, it made sense that the county worked with Humane Society at that time and conveyed that property. So since that time, back in 2008, there was a loan agreement where the county provided funds to the Humane Society. They were building a building, providing services, but to essentially for operations of the Humane Society. And as collateral for that loan, the county took fee ownership of the property back, so it was deeded back to us pursuant to an agreement with Humane Society. So since that time last year, the loan has been paid off in full, and pursuant to the agreement that the county had, the property is being conveyed back by deed, by bargain and sale deed, fee simple ownership to the Humane Society. There is a provision, though, in the deed that the county has the right to re-enter ownership of the property, or an ownership right of the property, so that if for some reason the Humane Society of Brightside ceased to function and fulfill that obligation that the county is obligated to do under state law, that we have the right to utilize that property, re-enter ownership of that property, and fulfill our legal obligation. So with that, and recognition of paying off the loan, substantial loan, we're here today to convey the deed. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that?
Hi, I think most of you know me, Patricia Bowling. I'm the shelter manager. I just wanted to be here to thank the commission, past and present, for supporting us and for always being there, especially Eric. When I started 5 years ago, he was very helpful to me. He was my go-to person. So we're proud to be able to pay off the loan and continue on, and hopefully we can take care of those thousands of animals out there that are neglected or lost or surrendered to us. So we thank you, because we couldn't do what we do without your help.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here today. And since it's a shelter that I've used, I really appreciate your being part of the community and being so caring.
Well, thank you for the long-term commitment of keeping the doors open, keeping the operations flowing, and being a partner in this whole process. I know this has been a long road, and the title going back and forth was a collateral item, kind of a business decision at the time. So congratulations, we're getting back to a free and clear title for the purpose of animal shelter services. So congratulations, and yeah.
And I did want to note, after my meeting yesterday, I learned that pets actually have a right. In an emergency declaration, you may bring your pet as long as it's a cat, a dog, a turtle, no fish. But I was amazed that after Katrina, they decided that so many people would not leave their animals because they're so important to their family. So that was something that we were told in our 8-hour seminar, and I thought it was very applicable to Deschutes County. So thank you.
That was something I wasn't aware of, so that's a great thing, because there's a lot of service animals out there, and there's people that put their life in jeopardy when there's a disaster because they can't save their animals.
Right.
So that's wonderful. Thank you for letting us know that.
Okay, you're welcome.
Well, with that, I'll move board signature of document number 2019-482, the bargain and sale agreement from Deschutes County to the Humane Society of Redmond, Brightside Animal Shelter.
Thank
And
you.
I'll second it. Commissioner, any further discussion?
No discussion.
Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare? Yes. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, let's see. Do you want to do number one now?
Yep, item number 1.
Okay. Debbie Holcomb, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Evie Holcomb with Community Justice.
Trevor Stevens with Adult Parole and Probation.
So, yeah, I had contacted you yesterday, just kind of understanding the big picture here. So the cost of service previous to this contract, and now there's a contract in place with the third party, and now that contract total price is going up. So I think I understand it, but you can just explain it for us too a little bit.
Sure, I'll maybe give the big picture if you have specific
Sure.
questions. Trevor, who is the contract manager, can answer those. So the county provides electronic monitoring to pretrial defendants, primarily DUI clients, and primarily DUIs who've had maybe the second or the third, potentially even a fourth DUI. We have done that for about 10 years, pursuant to an RFP about a year ago. We are now contracting out all of the service. So we used to have county staff that provided the actual monitoring, putting the bracelets on, that sort of thing. And now we have a company, Vigilant, with whom this contract is for, who does that. So when we did that RFP, we had never done an outsourced contract for that population. So we made some estimates on how much we thought the clients could pay, because it basically changed to a fee-based model. If you're ordered to get on the bracelet, you are obligated to pay, right? We all understood that not everybody can pay, and so we created with our provider a subsidy schedule, a fee subsidy schedule, and then again, just kind of made some estimates on how much we thought your average DUI client's monthly income might be, and in relation to what their fee might be. 9 months in, so we went along, signed the contract. 9 months in, it's just a different story. We basically now know what we didn't know before. So we were basically, I think we estimated, I think I wrote in my email to you, sir, $1,500, between $1,500 and $2,000 a month average income, right? Turns out that this clientele has about $1,000 a month average income. So our cost has, in some ways, for that particular set of the population, has doubled. So that's our amendment before you now, is to increase the contract to cover the subsidies, the increased subsidies. With that, and I'll just sort of, those are bigger numbers in terms of basically how low we had estimated. We are still, if you look at it biannually, almost $200,000 savings from what we were prior spending of county funds on this population. So it's still a good, it's in the right direction. It's just different than what we had thought.
Okay, great.
Thank you for bringing it up, because I did note that it was up it was $141,000 more. So it was really too important not to discuss this morning.
Sure thing.
So that makes sense when you say that actually we're spending less, though our initial estimate was under significantly. Okay.
So then, kind of the logistics of, so this budget year, we've scheduled this in, this increase. Is this a 2-year contract with the company?
It's actually a 21-month contract,
Okay, yeah.
but it will cover the fiscal year. So that 21 months, 12 of the 21 months falls completely within this fiscal year, for which we budgeted the amount that we anticipate needing for this fiscal year.
Good. Just dialing it in, and there's true cost savings in the big picture. That was kind of where I was looking for. So.
Yes.
Good.
Any further?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Yep. So with that, I'll move board signature of document number 2019-235, VigilNet contract amendment for electronic monitoring.
And I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
Okay. So, do we have Commissioner Henderson on the line? Oh, yes, please.
So he'll be dialing. Here we go.
Good morning.
Hi,
Okay.
Okay,
So we've got.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
perfect. Yes?
We got the teleconference phone
Okay,
on the
I'm-
front desk.
Okay. All right. Matthew, do you want to go ahead?
Happy to. Matthew Martin, Deschutes County
I'm
Planning
on the
Division.
line now.
Yes.
Morning, I can see you. I can see you.
Again, for the record, Matthew Martin, Deschutes County Planning Division. A delay. What's before you is consideration of signature on board document number 2019-481, decision of the Board of County Commissioners denying a proposal for marijuana retail at 19855 8th Street Bend, but in the Tumalo community. The decision before you is reflective of edits and comments made at the continued deliberations from Monday, June 17th. In your, as distributed to you, we provided a red line version of the edits made in response to those comments, but also a clean version if you're prepared to accept and adopt those changes in the formal document. I do want to acknowledge one correction from the proposed changes, correction of a typo on page 7 in the quote from the applicant's testimony for September 28th, 2019. In part, the quote is, delivery service is estimated at 3 times a day from the site rather than from the site. So we've made that correction for your consideration. Aside from that, happy to answer any questions or provide additional description of the changes.
Thank you for providing it in both the redacted form and then the original form. That was very helpful. Commissioner Henderson, do you have any comments? Is he still on? Okay.
Any comments from Commissioner Henderson?
There he is.
I think there's about a 10 or 15 second delay with Commissioner
Okay.
Henderson.
Got it.
I read the proposed changes, and I thought Matt and Adam did a good job of incorporating the comments made on Monday. So I had no other changes at this time. I'm in support of the findings as we've discussed them, and particularly with regard to the items that we differed from the hearings officer on.
Therefore, since he's technically the chair, do I make a motion to accept it? How do we do that?
You're acting as the chair right
Okay,
now.
so he has to make the motion then?
In theory, either he or Commissioner Bone, the decision does indicate it's a 2-to-1 decision, so if you were to move it or in any way vote in support of the document, you're not voting in support of the decision.
Okay. So,
Commissioner Henderson can make the motion.
Commissioner Henderson, can you make the motion, please?
Yes, I will make the motion to approve the resolution. I guess I don't have the number in front of me here, so you'll have to tell me the number.
2019-481.
2019-0.
19. No, 481.
481.
Should I read the rest of this statement? Or is that would that be necessary to read the denial?
Sure that there was a motion there. Is he moving approval and adoption of document 2019-481?
Yes.
That's sufficient.
Okay, I'll second the motion. Any further discussion?
So just a comment, I mean, I've said my piece a few times, there's definitely conditions that could go in support of the hearings officer findings on this, and so I had not approved the way that this document was written, or, some of the content of this document, just acknowledging that.
Okay. Commissioner Henderson, how do you vote?
You vote yes on the motion.
Yes, correct. Okay, and Commissioner DeVone, you're voting?
Well, and I'll vote no on the document also. I mean, it's 2-to-1 denial and 2-to-1 I don't support the document as all the conclusions that have come to.
Okay, and I will vote yes. So, Adam, did you want to clarify anything?
Oh, I just noted, and when Matt was noting the one typo, he also read the date, September 28, 2019, and that's also a Scrivener's error. It should be 2018. We'll correct that before the signature copy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Cody Smith?
So acknowledging for Commissioner Henderson, we're done with that item at this time. We're going to go to item number 12. Would you like to stay on or leave the meeting at this time?
It's a 30-second delay, I think.
So I will be leaving the meeting at this time. I don't think there's anything else that required my vote today. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Do I need to touch anything? Just turn it up? Okay.
Here we go.
Cody?
Okay, good morning.
Technology at its best.
Cody Smith, Road Department. At the request of some parents and staff at the Terrebonne Community School, and through coordination with those folks, the county submitted a grant through the Safe Routes to School program for an infrastructure grant for improvements of C Avenue in between 6th Street and Highway 97 in Terrebonne. The application was selected for award by the Oregon Transportation Commission back in January. The scope of the project is to construct curbs, sidewalks, paved parking, and storm sewer facilities on C Avenue, again between 6th Street and Highway 97 along the north frontage for Terrebonne Community School. The department solicited for bids for the project. 2 bids were received. Department found that the lowest responsive bid was from Knife River Corporation Northwest, with a total amount of $327,607. So before you this morning is the notice of intent to award the contract to Knife River for that project. If approved, the notice will start the 1-week protest period, and if no protests by interested parties are received during that period, the contract will be awarded administratively. We anticipate if the contract is awarded, the work will start in early July, and the contract completion date is August 30th, so we want this project wrapped up before the start of school in September. The total project cost, including the design engineering for the project, is currently anticipated to be $397,428. The Safe Routes to School grant will be covering 80% of that cost, with the county contribution estimated right now to be $79,486.
Any thoughts on the estimate variation there? So one's almost double the other.
Yes.
Not really. I mean, I didn't inquire with that bidder. I think our we'll call it our second lowest bid was fairly high. Very few of their prices really matched up to current market rates we're seeing for things. Beyond that, I don't really have an explanation for that. Unfortunately, we're starting to get later into the construction season, so we didn't get as many bids for this project as we'd like to. But so we did get one good, reasonable bid here. So.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an important project that gets done in the summer before school goes back.
Yes,
to
absolutely,
session.
absolutely,
So-
yeah. Yeah, there are some timing requirements with the Safe Routes to School grant also. The requirement isn't that we get it built this year necessarily, but it's certainly good to get this one out the door and done before school starts.
Well, one assumption for the estimate that was larger is that people are probably pretty much scheduled up for the summer already. So it's probably even good that we have a contractor that's available for this.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly with this type of work, which would kind of more relate to site work, development type work, which, those contractors that perform that kind of work, they've certainly got their plates full by now.
Yep.
Great.
Well, with that, I'll move chair signature of document number 2019-275, a notice of intent to award contract for the C Avenue 6th Street to US 97 project to Knife River Corporation Northwest.
And I'll second that. Any other
Comments?
discussion?
Those are going to be nice improvements for around a school area, walking, safety, traffic. Just having those sidewalks and curbs really define the roads a lot better than they traditionally have been. So it's going to be a nice little project for that area.
I'm sure they'll appreciate it. So, Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Cody. Nathan?
Nathan.
Nathan's so lucky.
Shutting down the house here.
Yes. And
Well, good morning, Board. Nathan Garrity, Deschutes County Sheriff's Office Emergency Services Manager. Here today with just to give you, I guess, a little context behind the Amateur Radio Proclamation for Amateur Radio Week. This is, I think, about the 4th year I think we've done this, and it's very much appreciated by our amateur radio volunteers throughout the county and the region, really. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today. 10 o'clock in the morning is tough for a lot of folks to make it. So, but just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of context of a lot of things a lot of the activities they participate in. Certainly, they support a number of emergency services related organizations around the county, including the American Red Cross, the hospital system, as well as Deschutes County Sheriff's Office Emergency Management, as well as any other emergency response organization that would request their assistance in providing auxiliary communications. We have about 31 volunteers that are actual Deschutes County Sheriff's Office auxiliary communication volunteers, and they come from a number of groups, HIDARG, High Desert Amateur Radio Group, Central Oregon Amateur Radio Emergency Communications Team, which is kind of a Southern Deschutes, Northern Klamath County team, as well as ARES, which stands for Amateur Radio Emergency Services. So we kind of pull from all of those groups to support our operations. And one of the other things that I think is very important that they do is they participate in the Skywarn program with the National Weather Service. And we just co-hosted a course last week on Storm Spotter with the National Weather Service last week. And very good turnout from our amateur radio volunteers. Central Oregon's kind of in a bit of a radar hole, so we don't have excellent radar coverage. So having trained weather spotters out there communicating that information to the National Weather Service is of great importance to the National Weather Service so they can provide good forecasts.
Great. Thank you so much. Commissioner?
So I'm interested in reading this proclamation, and then I'll have some comments afterwards even. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to comment, Nathan, I don't know if you want to put in a plug for the ham radio field day that's going on.
Well, that's what, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was gonna
thank
get.
you.
Yep.
As soon as I got done, I thought, I should have
that's
mentioned
what-
that.
yeah.
So, absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. This Saturday is a field day that's hosted down at Prairie Campground, and it's open to the public on Saturday afternoon, roughly, I think 11:30 to 5. It's open to the public for any members of the public who want to come and check out amateur radio and some of the really cool things that they can do with technology that's been around a long time, and it's amazing how well they can make things work. So super fascinating. I also like to put in a plug. I just in the last year got my amateur radio license after years of being harassed by our amateur radio volunteers, but we finally got it done. So it was pretty fun to get that done.
Well, and that was kind of the comments I was going to go with, and I'll do that right after the proclamation because I
Perfect.
mentioned sitting
Yeah,
here.
thank
That's exactly what I do. So as I say, I'm
Would you
offering
love
to read it.
it?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Proclamation recognizing June 17th to the 23rd, 2019 as Amateur Radio Week. Whereas amateur radio operators are celebrating over a century of the miracle of human voice broadcast over the airwaves. Whereas amateur radio has continued to provide a bridge between peoples, societies, and countries by creating friendships and sharing of ideas. And whereas amateur radio operators have also provided countless hours of community services to emergency service agencies and to other local organizations throughout these decades. Whereas the amateur radio services are provided wholly uncompensated. And whereas the County of Deschutes also recognizes the services amateur radio operators provide to the Deschutes County Emergency Management and to our many civilian emergency response organizations, including the American Red Cross, the Oregon Department of Transportation, and the region's hospitals. And whereas these individuals have further demonstrated their value in public assistance by providing free radio communications for local events, such as bicycle events and marathons, where no other communications are available, and participate in disaster preparedness presentations throughout the county. And whereas the County of Deschutes recognizes and appreciates the diligence of these hams, who also serve as weather spotters in the Skywarn program of the U.S. Government Weather Bureau. And whereas the American Radio Relay League is the leading organization for amateur radio in the USA. Whereas the ARRL, Amateur Radio Field Day exercise, will take place on June 22nd and 23rd, 2019, and is a 24-hour emergency preparedness exercise and demonstration of the radio amateurs' skills and readiness to provide self-supporting communications without further infrastructure being required. Therefore, therefore be it resolved that we, the Board of Commissioners for the County of Deschutes, do hereby recognize and designate June 17th to the 23rd, 2019 as Amateur Radio Week in Deschutes County. So yeah, the June 22nd and 23rd exercise, I've enjoyed attending in Sisters over the last few years. These guys always set up at the county fair, and this weekend they'll be down at Paulina in the campground up towards Paulina and Eastlake. So I will definitely stop by. The interesting thing as elected officials, they get real excited when we show up, and I didn't understand this originally because that is a big check off on their sheet of folks that stop by their setup, because it's 24 hours, it's national and international. People are trying to connect all over the world for those 24 hours. And when you have an elected official show up, it's really good on their credentials. So I'll make sure to stop by at some point. It's kind of close to where I live. I remember years ago, my neighbor was a ham in Hawaii on the island of Maui, and he talked to his dad in the evening, like on every Friday, he'd call his dad in California or wherever it was, and they were able to talk. And they had a field day, so I got to see a field day about 20 years ago. So I understand these things, and yeah, there's a long history of it.
It's amazing that the technology is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know when we might really need it.
Yeah, they can set up real quick.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll move approval of the proclamation.
I'll second it. Further discussion? No? Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare, yes.
All right.
So thank you
Great.
very much, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
See you out there. Thank you.
And thank you for my drive-by on Friday. That was excellent, and thank you for waiting for me.
No problem.
That was a big bill. Thank you, Nathan.
All right, you bet.
We have some other business then? Did you want to discuss this?
Yeah, I think Eric's going to cover the grant application.
Okay.
Thank you. This is probably in my box. I didn't grab it.
Yeah, I just put it in about an hour ago.
Okay.
The State Department of Veteran Affairs contacted the county with an opportunity to apply for veteran suicide awareness and prevention funds. I think Deschutes County would be eligible for about $2,000. In working with Keith McNamara, our county Veteran Service Office, he is recommending that we apply for the grant to purchase handout items that would have printed materials about resources for suicide prevention for veterans. Keith also reached out to our Health Services Department, the prevention area. Whitney Schumacher is our suicide prevention coordinator. He communicated with her. She recommended that we send some staff and or community members who work with veterans to an upcoming training called ASSIST. ASSIST stands for Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. Deschutes County Health Services is hosting an ASSIST training this October, so they could reserve a couple of seats for that population. So we're recommending that the county apply for these grants and are seeking board support of this grant application. And so it'd actually be a chair signature of the grant application.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, I'll move chair signature of application to the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs for Suicide Awareness and Prevention Fund opportunity.
And I'll second the motion. Any other discussion? Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare, yes.
Great.
Thank you so much, because I see that the application is due by Friday.
Yes, we got the email, I think it was last week. In
Right.
fact, I think you received it.
I
so
received it.
We've had to put it together very quickly, but
I
we're
know. It was
happy
like,
to.
Deschutes County is not on that list, and we should be. So, in fact, Mitch, who ran not this division, well, no, he was in the veterans, just last Friday was his last day.
That's right, he's going on to the governor's office?
No, well, he's actually going on to Indian, the tribal affairs.
Okay.
That's what his new position, and will be moving to Deschutes County.
Oh, good.
Yes. So, all in a day's work. All right, Tom, did we have anything else?
Commissioners, yesterday I sent you kind of list of talking points. Tomorrow is our annual lunch meeting with the Black Butte Ranch, our managing body, their board of directors there. So they had sent a draft agenda with a whole range of items on there that they'd like updates on. So I don't know if you've had a chance to review those, but I wanted to make sure that those were kind of gave you the background or context that you needed. I think both Eric and Dave and I will all be there as well. So I didn't put any names on these. If you all would like to take the lead on any or all of them, you're certainly welcome to. If you, on the other hand, if you'd like to hand it off to any of us three on any of those items, we're happy to kind of provide a brief update. We don't have a lengthy amount of time at the lunch, but we're happy to kind of cover any of those items as well. I also, just for the, I guess, good of the order, it wasn't listed as an agenda item, have a report from our forester, Ed Keith, on all the acres that we've treated over the last year in and around Black Butte Ranch in terms of fuels reduction, which I know is an important issue to them as well. So I can speak to that. They also have a brand new piece of equipment that they haven't started running yet, where they basically burn their woody debris on site. It's a contained piece of equipment. It's called an air curtain or a fire curtain. It's really interesting. We're all set up to go take a look at that and observe that, and if it seems to work well, we might look at something like that for not landfill, to reduce the amount of woody debris that we have to put in the pit, so to speak. So a couple items for go to the order as well.
Who's got that device to take a look at?
Black Butte Ranch HOA purchased one.
Oh, okay.
And they haven't fired it up yet, but we'll be there to see it at some point to kind of assess how it works.
I spoke to Bob Townsend from ODOT yesterday. I was at the MPO meeting with him, and he mentioned since our meeting last year, they were able to do some striping, extending a turn lane for deceleration into the Black Butte Ranch entrance, remove a couple trees for the view, distances for turning movements. So there's definitely there was action after our meeting last year by ODOT. In the end, it's a private entrance to property. It's not an intersection of ODOT or two jurisdictions is kind of the big picture. So, we can always work with them on that, but, that private entrance, improvements were made since last year, and we'll see what they say.
Yeah, there was a second attachment to that email.
I saw that.
Kind of itemized the different things that ODOT and the ranch had agreed to kind of work on together. Kind of surprised by some of the questions that came up at last year's lunch, and we sort of facilitated a discussion between the two. So, hopefully it won't be as pointed this year as it was last.
Hope not. It should be interesting. I know people drive really fast through there. You've just come off the mountain, and it's like, oh boy. And the road's pretty clear, and it's pretty straight, and yes. And people go pretty fast, so. But they do have that turn lane in, so that has to be a bit helpful for them to get in and out. I don't know, do they have a safety? Is there an accident? I don't believe there's accidents there. I don't think I really read about those in the Nugget.
It's more high-speed passing maneuvers that are
right.
Dangerous items.
Yes, for sure. So, is there any other business you wanted to bring up?
No, if you have any changes or any comments on that list that I provided you, please let me know, and I'll firm it up before we leave tomorrow.
Okay, wonderful.
The only other item I have is just a quick question. As you know, we do the employee breakfast at the fair every year, our employee recognition breakfast, and we're teeing that up again this year. It's very popular with our employees, and everybody seems to have a good time. There was a question that came up on whether we ought to invite volunteers who offer their services to the county. We've not done that before. We have, in fact, well over 500 volunteers that are on our books. Most of them are associated with the sheriff's office, who do their own volunteer recognition barbecue every year. It's very nice. I've attended that several times. But just in terms of whether we open it up to them at our breakfast, that has the potential to be a substantial increase to the attendance there that we hadn't budgeted for. So I didn't feel comfortable kind of making that call on my own, so I wanted to kind of get a read on the board. Again, it's not like they're not recognized other places, and I guess our recommendation that would be that we not. However, if the board feels otherwise, we can certainly change our practice.
I would support having that discussion for next year. It is a financial commitment. We're paying a fair price for these meals at the fairgrounds, which is good for both parties. But it ends up being a pretty big bill. So adding an unknown amount at this point in time would may not be prudent.
Do we ever do anything to recognize the volunteer firemen? Anywhere? county?
Not to my knowledge, Commissioner. We, as you know, don't work with volunteer firemen directly. There certainly are a number of them for the various fire districts, but to my recollection, we've not in the past done any kind of recognition for those individuals.
Okay, because you know, my district, Cloverdale, is down to 19 volunteers, which is significantly impactful. So, I mean, I was just trying to think, what are the things we can do? So maybe we can discuss that at a later time.
Sounds more like a community barbecue in the district.
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, who's going to take care of it?
Yeah.
Because we do, you know, they had their raffle at the Sisters Rodeo, but they really do need more volunteers. So, okay, all right. Any further business? No other business? Dave, no? Okay, wonderful. All right, then. I will adjourn the meeting. Adjourned?
There we go.
Thank you so
It's
much.
official.
And you're going to lunch, so.
Yeah.